Distinguished Professor Chao Lin, Dean of Peking University, Guanghua School of Management, dear professors and students, I'm happy to be with you today and very pleased to address you at the beginning of your academic year. Your school has an impressive history. It is ranked among the best universities and business schools in China. Its mission extends beyond business and management. It is an institution comprised of scholars, pioneers, and innovators determined to advance management knowledge and cultivate leaders dedicated to the betterment of China and the global society. These are all important messages, and they are indeed what higher education is all about. I'm happy to do so, as I have a deep commitment and dedication to the cause of education and learning as formulated and promoted in the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It should not come as a surprise to you that after 8 years as Director General of UNESCO and still being actively involved in the debate about the state of multilateralism and the United Nations, I deeply believe that the challenges today need renewed commitment to international cooperation. When I speak about UNESCO, the United Nations, and the world today, I remember the words of the preamble of UNESCO's constitution adopted 75 years ago that say, and I quote, "A peace based exclusively upon the political and economic arrangements of governments would not be a peace which could secure the unanimous, lasting, and sincere support of peoples of the world. Peace must be founded, if it is not to fail, upon the intellectual and moral solidarity of mankind." Written in the aftermath of the Second World War, these words resonate still powerfully today. Every generation has challenges to overcome. Every generation should ask itself a question: how to build a better world? How to build a better future? How to leverage the immense opportunities of knowledge, science, and technology? These questions are particularly relevant today when the world is confronting with a pandemic with dire socioeconomic consequences that need more global cooperation and not less, that needs more investment in scientific research, scientific exchanges for the sake of health and well-being of people. I'm more than confident that we will not only overcome this crisis, but we can build a better world. We have the United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda 2030 with its 17 goals, which is our blueprint for inclusive, equitable, and environmentally friendly growth. This agenda is becoming even more important today, as it puts as a main objective a highly humanistic ambition: leave no one behind. And if we follow this sustainability path, we are not going to fail, but we will fail if we do not embrace change, if we build back again our economies and societies without strong investment in the most important public goods: health and education, decent jobs, and green economies. We will fail if we do not make policies that will reduce inequalities and not widen them. We will fail if we do not take seriously climate change, which will not go away with the pandemic, if we do not implement the targets of the Paris Climate Agreement. And we will fail if we do not make technology work for the people, accessible for all. In other words, all we want to build back better, but we will fail if we do not embrace the United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda. I would strongly encourage you to pursue this sustainable path of development, where technology is reconciled with social, economic, and environmental aspects of development. So my first message is embrace the change, innovate, lead. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus famously said, "The only constant in life is change." Nowhere is this more relevant today than in the world of technology. You are indeed a digital generation. If we look around the amazing change that is happening in front of our eyes in the last years, for the first time, artificial intelligence beat the human mind in a game of Go. And we have seen the rise of smart cars, the big data revolution. We are seeing the rise of a green revolution in most of our societies, strongly supported and pushed forward by you, the generation that is coming of age. The fourth industrial revolution requires from you to develop the capacity not just to analyze and break a technical or scientific problem in its constituent parts. It requires from you to look at the interconnections between each scientific problem across global scales and the interrelations between physical, chemical, biological, and economic dimensions of it. Never forget the effects of these technologies on society and look for a best way for their sustainable and ethical use. My second message is about solidarity and sharing. If you want to learn and to lead, you will need to work with others. You will have to collaborate, to exchange. An African proverb says, "If you walk alone, you go faster, but when we walk together, we go further." In the physical world, sharing sometimes means dividing, but in the world of knowledge, sharing has a multiplier effect and can even lead to a gain for all. So be open to ideas, to the others, to diversity. From strictly economic terms, those of you who are capable of creative insights, collaborating with diverse teams, navigating through global cultural differences, will be at an advantage in a workplace where the meaning of skills will become more of interpreting rapidly changing information and being able to work with experts and different backgrounds towards a common understanding of the benefits of sustainable development. I'm happy that China embraced enthusiastically the United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda and adopted immediately its own plan of achieving the 17 goals. It was preceded by an impressive economic and social development. Since the beginning of the reforms in China, a little more than 4 decades ago, China has lifted more than 730 million people out of poverty. It happened by the year 2015, the year of the adoption of the new Sustainable Development Agenda. And thus, China accounted for over 70% of global poverty reduction accomplishments. What is also remarkable in the Chinese economic miracle is that the government has made human development the focus of its policy. It has implemented strong and targeted economic and social policy to ensure that no one is left behind. In 2017, China launched an impressive policy campaign called the Targeted Poverty Alleviation, aiming at the complete elimination of extreme poverty in rural China by 2020, 10 years ahead of the Agenda 2030, the agenda of the Sustainable Development Goals. And the last Human Development Report issued by the United Nations in the end of last year, 2019, which coincided with the 70th anniversary of the establishment of the People's Republic of China, recognized the remarkable changes that have taken places, not only in terms of economic growth, but equally important, the wider range of sustainable human development progress. China's advances in this regard have been uniquely impressive. It is the only country in the world that progressed from a low human development country in 1990 to a high human development country today. In his notorious speech, Make Poverty History in 2005, the great fighter against apartheid in South Africa, Nelson Mandela, famously said, "Overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity. It is the protection of a fundamental human right, the right to dignity and a decent life. While poverty persists, there is no true freedom." I believe, dear young friends, that leadership today requires first and foremost the right moral and ethical approach, matched with a sense of responsibility towards the community and towards the others. A responsibility that should embrace change, encourage innovation, and be open to diversity and respect for the others. The famous scientist Albert Einstein famously said once, "The most important human endeavor is the striving for morality in our actions. Our inner balance and even our very existence depend on it. Only morality in our actions can give beauty and dignity to life." With this message, I wish you a very successful academic year and thank you for your attention.